It's time. It's coming. We've finally got some more Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord gameplay. So I'm not going to keep you waiting around to see some of this, but if you want to see the full thing uncut, make sure you go and watch the actual Tailwards video, because I'm going to be cutting it up and looking at the talking points. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. First off, it is still in development, remember this, so most things will change. It does look like it needs quite a bit of polishing at the moment, so hopefully they can get on that and that will be sorted out pretty soon. But this is the closed beta gameplay that a lot of people actually got to go into, some esports players and long-time members of the community. But this is from the point of view of Callum, the community manager. First off, let's look into the equipment screen. Of course, you can see different types of troops that you can choose, types of archer and infantry, but subtypes within these classes, all that have different points or gold values. Here you can spend more gold on one type of troop, but then you'll have less for respawning later on, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. But furthermore, looking down, you can see the cavalry at the bottom, which of course costs a bit more since they are a bit more powerful on the battlefield. This is the skirmisher mode, which is a small contained battle for a certain point, capturing points and killing the enemies and working with small contingencies of other troops. You can see some of the examples of the perks. Looking down, we can see the additional arrows perk. Assumingly, it says giving you an extra stack of arrows. But let's pause the video here. We can see other perks. The Yao longbow perk. The picture is an orange arrow, and I'm assuming this indicates it to be a more powerful shot with this bow. And Warlord's two-hander perk, which assumedly grants you as an archer a better melee weapon in the battle, but it sacrifices a perk slot that you could use for more arrows or like of the search. Now, there's a lot of people I've seen in the comments talking about how the sound on this video is bad. When you go into the game, you expect there to be lots of battle noises, and whilst yes, there are stuff that are left out, the sound is one of the last things that you have to come to, because it takes so much time to do off-piece. There'll be people that are working on the music at the moment, and I mean, as you can tell, there's no music in the game yet. Come on guys, use your brains. They've not added the music, that's why it seems a bit quiet and empty. But straight off the bat, Callum is Couch Lance, seeing our first change in the multiplayer. Of course, we get those beautiful ragdolls, but we have seen them in many of the single-player game modes, but now we can see that damage reports and indicators have been brung into the multiplayer as well. You can see how much damage you have received, what type of damage it is, and where it hits you. You're also additionally seeing some more information, such as movement speed and the amount of damage absorbed. I'm not sure if this is absorbed by your armor or your belly, but I guess this is something that we'll have to look into some more information in at some point. But let's go back onto that unit screen. You can see, looking now at the cavalry, you can see from this point of view, you're going to be spending a lot more money on cavalry, as they're probably a lot more powerful, especially in this skirmish mode here. You'll probably only be able to get one cavalry per team. I think it's like 2 archers per team as well, and the rest have to be infantry to try and get that balance right, since there's such few players in this actual game mode. But what are the perks for cavalry? These perks include javelins, which of course you'll be riding around throwing sharp sticks at people, and we have seen that these actually do quite a lot of damage. You can see in a bit of gameplay at the end that actually Callum gets hit by a javelin. That's pretty much a one-hit kill. These javelins are very deadly if you can hit them in the juicy bits. Of course, it completely depends on the part of the body. We have seen that now there's damage indicators and reports, so you can see exactly where you're hit, meaning that each part of your body is sectioned off into different damage types. The head, of course, doing the most damage. The chest is going to do quite a bit of damage. The legs and the feet, not so much. But of course, then it comes into things like armor. That sort of has to be introduced as well to those damage reports. You'll have better armor, of course, as a perk, as the horseman, which I don't think I need to explain that to you, and heavy horse. Now, what is heavy horse? You might expect, is this just a more powerful horse? Well, sort of. The little picture shows a headbutting horse, so I'm assuming this is more of a charge damage bonus that you're going to get, which means that this is going to be a very fun class to be able to use in the multiplayer, charging down people, not only couch lancing using javelins and swords and axes, but also using your horse for the actual damage. I can expect in a big multiplayer battle, not necessarily so much these skirmish battles, but when you have multiple cavalry, 10, 11, 12 cav on the same team, charging at the enemy from the flanks or the back, doing a lot of charge damage can have some very disastrous effects on the enemies if you manage to charge it right. And using this heavy horse is going to be great, but it's probably going to be a very balancing system, where yes, you can choose heavy horse here, you'll get more charge bonus, but you're going to be slower and less maneuverable, so you're sort of giving that up. So it's a very pick and choose. You have to choose and tailor your loadouts to how you want it. You can't, once again, we have seen in a developer blog, choose your exact equipment, but you can choose the type of troops, the sort of level of that type of troops, and of course the perks that can go with it, and tailor that to your type of gameplay and how you really want to do it. But let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. Well, the combat unfortunately looks a little bit less smooth than Warband. Still very early on, so they're probably still working on that. It still has the same pedigree that Warband really brought up though. The blocking systems and of course the hitting systems. There's blood splatters every time you hit and attack someone. The hitboxes look pretty good at the moment. I don't know about the hitboxes on the weapons. They seem to go through each other a little bit, so that's probably something that's going to be improved upon. But in terms of hitboxes on the body, every hit seems to do a pretty good job of hitting, and the sound design is of course probably unfinished at the moment, but it looks pretty satisfying to hit people. Now this comes into the ragdoll physics as well, because not only it happens with your couch lancing, but of course once again the more speed you have, the more someone else is going to go flying. But as we can see, when you're on ground battles, hitting someone with your sword, your actual spear, or even a bow can send them flying depending on the momentum used. Because of course if we look back at the report damage, one of the important things is the amount of speed, the movement speed. So this is going to be something that really plays into it, momentum and speed, which I'm really glad that they've added that back in from Warband. But look at this, the new weapon that we haven't really heard of before in the Mount and Blade games, but this is the Falx. Yes, I noticed it. It looks so goddamn awesome. Probably going to be ultra effective against shields, splitting them down the middle, getting around those shields. Probably quite slow though, if I'm going to be completely honest, but it's going to be great for going against those big formations. Falxmen were always great, and it was actually said that the Romans feared the Dacian Falxmen because these guys were pretty terrible when it comes to attacking guys with shields. They used to be able to rip through Roman lines if they managed to get the jump on them. But what about skirmisher? What about ranged units? Well, looking at the archers, they look pretty powerful. Some might say too powerful. I think that from this you can't really get a good idea because it's such an enclosed environment. There's only a set amount of people and it's not a very large scale battle, so you can't quite get the scale and how they'll work in one of the big sieges, etc., or capture the flags. Because of course the more people, the less powerful archers really are going to be. But these archers look incredibly powerful. It looks like 1 or 2 hits. They're just taking people down left and right. They look really good. Of course the best counter for that is a shield or cavalry, but if you don't have that sort of thing on the other team, you're going to be in a bit of a sticky situation if you get hit, especially if that archer uses the perks such as the better bow, the better shot, and even more arrows. They're going to be very deadly if used correctly. I really want archers to be deadly though. Of course it has to come into balance because it's a game. They have to be able to balance between infantry, archers and cavalry. But imagine this, the old-fashioned Mount and Blade shield battle and shield battle events in native were epic, but archers weren't all that effective. They were great, yes, but they weren't as effective as I think they should have been. Getting around the back of an enemy with your archers and your archer unit should be devastating. Just pinging off arrows, watching enemies fall left, right and center. I think if they manage to balance the archers correctly, I really want them to be able to make them powerful because they need to be powerful. So it's so satisfying taking down enemy after enemy with waves and waves of arrows, but I guess we're going to have to see. But they do look pretty powerful in this, although as I said, probably only about 2 archers max per team in this skirmish mode. Otherwise you're going to have some issues when you're running into balance. Now, someone asked in the chat, you can see, how does respawn work? Well, it seems, as it was explained, it's down to how much money or gold you have. Well, it's not really gold. They sort of refer to it credit or points, but it's sort of gold at the same time. It doesn't really matter. But this is how the respawn works. Let's say you want to spend a lot of gold on perks or better troops from the start of the game. You want to get more armor, more perks, better weapons. Maybe you want to play as cavalry or heavy infantry rather than lighter infantry or archers. You're going to be spending more points, credits, gold, whatever you want to call it on. But this means that you're going to have less lives in the long run because it also works with respawns. If you have these credits or points left, you're able to respawn more times than if you have less credits or gold left. So that's how the respawn works. It balances between your equipment and the type of troops you spawn in with, and of course the amount of gold you have left. So the heavier troops, the less respawns. The lighter troops, the more respawns. And I think that's a really nice way of balancing it. A few extra things you can see. Bannerlord is now counting assists now, so that's going to be great for you gaming noobs who never actually get kills, but are assists, so you're important in the long run. Assists are always great. But also, falling over when you get hit by cavalry now. So a sort of stun, which is going to be very deadly on the battlefield. I assume you can probably get hit by infantry and get knocked over as well, but it's a lot less likely. But I think this is the way they're going to be doing stunning, where you fall on the floor now with the sort of ragdoll effects. This means that if a cavalry guy hits you, even if it's not with his lance but his horse, and you fall over, you're going to be a sitting duck for any other infantry to come in and just slice you away. Now, of course, like I said, this is very early. There's stuff that can change. So this breaking shield animation hasn't obviously been put in yet, but you can see breaking shields is once again a thing. And as I said, the Falc's doing absolutely ham on that shield, doing a great goddamn job. But that's pretty much it for all the gameplay today. I'll probably bring in another video of the second half of the gameplay, because this was more on the first half. There was just a lot to talk about and I don't want the video to be too long, but I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more Bannerlord news, make sure you click that subscribe button and wait, because there'll be another video tomorrow talking about more of this gameplay and bringing it to you. But as I said, click the link in the description to go and see the full gameplay by Tailwards. Go and support them, leave a like on it, leave a comment, leave your thoughts, and I would really love to see what you guys think of this gameplay. But remember, before you leave a comment, look at this from a development standpoint. Don't look at this as a finished multiplayer game, because I think that's probably a little bit unfair on them, because this is still the closed beta. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and until then, I will see you in the next one.